Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alyson Grange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost. Hello and welcome to Firstpost Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alyson Grange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. Top European diplomats meet with Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi in Geneva to discuss Iran's nuclear program. The talks come as President Donald Trump mulls the prospect of U.S. involvement in the Iran-Israel war. China condemns the UK for sending a warship through the Taiwan Strait during a naval exercise, accusing it of undermining peace in the sensitive waterway. Now, this comes as Taiwan detects 50 Chinese military aircraft operating around the island. The Armenian Prime Minister arrives in Istanbul for a rare visit to arch rival Turkey, calling it a historic step toward regional peace. Ties have long been strained over the World War I era killings of Armenians in the Ottoman Empire. And Rwanda arrests leading opposition figure Victoire Ingabire in a rare critic of President Paul Kagame on charges of inciting the public and forming a criminal organization. And Hurricane Eric kills at least 2 people as it sweeps through southern Mexico, damaging coastal communities before weakening into a low-pressure system. Hello and welcome. We start with Burkina Faso. The West African nation has formalized a major nuclear agreement with Russia. Now, Russia's state nuclear giant, Rosatom, will now collaborate with Ibrahim Traoré-led Burkina Faso to develop nuclear infrastructure for peaceful purposes. The announcement was made by Burkina Faso's Minister of Energy, Yacouba Zabré Gouba, and this during a media interview where he said that the deal represents the final administrative step in a broader framework of nuclear cooperation between the two countries. Now, the agreement aims to help Burkina Faso to diversify its energy sources and to address the country's chronic electricity shortages. Burkina Faso is one of the world's least electrified countries. Under the deal, Rosatom will support the construction of nuclear power plants, research reactors, and will provide critical services across the nuclear fuel cycle. The deal follows Russia's approval last week of similar nuclear arrangements with Mali, another junta-led neighbor in the Sahel region. For Moscow, these agreements are a part of a larger strategy to strengthen its footprint in Africa. Though through Rosatom, Russia has been expanding its nuclear presence across the continent. Apart from Sahel, it has struck deals with countries including Egypt, South Africa, Rwanda, and Sudan for reactors, power plants, and uranium mining projects. Experts say these deals are designed to advance Moscow's geopolitical interests, allowing Vladimir Putin to build strategic alliances and gain resource access, as well as circumvent Western sanctions. Now, Russia offers financing, technical training, and infrastructure development, a package that is highly appealing to African states that are witnessing energy shortages. This strategy is particularly effective in Francophone countries. many of which are turning away from traditional Western partners and toward Moscow. Burkina Faso's ties with Russia have deepened dramatically in the past year, not just in energy, but also in security. The country has expelled French troops and is now working closely with Russia to fight Islamist insurgencies. In May, Burkina Faso's military leader, Ibrahim Traoré, met with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow and called for stronger military ties. Traoré said his country has many projects lined up with the Russian Defense Ministry. Now, as Burkina Faso pursues a strategic realignment, its partnership with Russia signals a broader shift across the Sahel, where military-led governments are looking for new partners for energy, security, and development support. Now, for more on this, we have with us Beverly Ochieng, who is a senior analyst at Control Risks, joining us live from Senegal, Dakar. Thank you for being with us, Beverly.
Nice speaking to you again, Alyson.
What are the strategic motivations behind Burkina Faso's pursuit of nuclear energy through this partnership with Russia? And how does this align with the country's broader energy security goals?
Well, Burkina Faso's military-led government wants to use this agreement to diversify its capacity to generate electricity. It has a rising demand from a growing urban population, but it also plans to expand industrialization and the production of local produce. We've seen recently, Traoré, the military leader, inaugurating factories, and his administration is also keen to mechanize agriculture. But then Burkina Faso still exports 60% of electricity. About 25% of the population has access to the grid. It's not very clear how much nuclear energy would contribute to the energy mix, but broadly speaking, Burkina Faso has been trying to move away from non-renewables, diesel-operated generators for electricity, towards renewable and sustainable sources. These agreements with Russia are quite symbolic, but it does demonstrate that Russia will play a central role in Burkina Faso's economic and energy development.
And given the involvement of Russia's state-owned Rosatom, what safeguards and regulatory measures are in place to ensure that the development of nuclear infrastructure in Burkina Faso remains peaceful and adheres to the international non-proliferation norms?
Well, Rosatom broadly has a track record of nuclear energy development and agreements, as you pointed out, and across the continent, and about 90% of global nuclear energy exports. But also, as a Russian state entity, it's responsible for ensuring that nuclear energy is developed for non-proliferation. Given the strategic position of the Sahel, however, the hostilities with the West, the militant insurgency, and the accessibility of uranium ore, primarily maybe from neighboring Niger, the project will likely face a lot of scrutiny. Burkina Faso itself has not said that it's going to use nuclear energy for any other reasons, and it does not have the capacity to divert nuclear energy resources, but it will be subjected to oversight, of course, in the event that this project does come to fruition.
And Beverly, what are the main technical, financial, and human resource challenges that Burkina Faso may face in implementing this nuclear project? And how does the agreement with Russia propose to overcome them, particularly regarding local capacity building and technology transfer?
Yes, Burkina Faso, the budget is largely on the militant insurgency. There is an allocation for education, but with nuclear energy, it's quite in flux. It doesn't have the technical capacity to operate a nuclear power plant or reactor, or how to even manage waste from nuclear power generation. In fact, during the interview with Sputnik, the Russian state news agency, the Burkinabe minister himself said his country will wait for financial and technical support from Russia. Rosatom, which is where Russia is using this, is probably going to be the one building the nuclear power plant. They'll probably bring in their own technicians for a start. But given Burkina Faso's nationalist drive, they will be keen to ensure that there's technical expertise being passed along to Burkinabe nationals. So we might see scholarships for students or even local universities teaching about nuclear energy use.
Right. Beverly, as always, great to have you on the show. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Now let's shift our focus to South Africa. The UK has refused to grant entry to South Africa's Julius Malema, a firebrand opposition politician and member of parliament. Now, he has been at the center of a row over US claims of persecution of whites in South Africa. In a letter issued by the UK Home Office, the British authorities have said that Malema's presence in the country is non-conducive to the public good. According to the letter released by Malema's party, the Economic Freedom Fighters, or the EFF, his vocal support for the Gaza-based Hamas group was the reason that he was barred from entering into the country. Now, the letter underlined Malema's speech given after the October 7th, 2023 Hamas attack on Israel. The leftist leader reportedly said that his party would arm the Iran-backed group if it came to power. The British authorities added that the decision to deny Malema's visa was based on his conduct, character and associations, which made it undesirable for them to grant him entry to the UK. The UK Home Office also cited Malema's refusal to withdraw or apologise for calls to kill the Boer, used during a 2022 case at the South African Equality Court. Malema has long been known for his controversial remarks. Kill the Boer is an apartheid-era struggle song, where Boer refers to white Afrikaner farmers, and the chant has been a long sensitive topic of discussion. Malema also featured prominently in a video showed by President Donald Trump in an Oval Office meeting during South African President Cyril Ramaphosa's US visit last month. In the video, Malema is seen singing the same song.
Just put this on, it's right behind you. Johan.
Was never be scared to kill. And revolution demand that at some point there must be killing.
South Africa's Supreme Court of Appeal has already ruled that the lyrics do not amount to hate speech. Instead, it is a provocative way of advancing political agenda. But Trump falsely claimed that Malema was a government official, insinuating that his inflammatory slogans reflected South Africa's official policy for its white minority. He used the video to back his claims of an alleged white genocide in South Africa. The 44-year-old has been at the core of this controversy. Malema is the leader of the opposition Economic Freedom Fighters, the EFF party. It is a Marxist-inspired and anti-capitalist party, which gained a little over 9% of votes, landing the fourth position in last year's election. Now, Malema's party condemned the UK's decision as cowardice, adding that it would hinder a democratic debate. Now, the EFF also accused the UK of distorting Malema's views on black South Africans' exclusion from the economy at the behest of a white minority. The party added that their leader would not compromise his beliefs for a visa and reiterated commitment to support the oppressed, including the Palestinians. Malema is a fierce critic of what he sees as Western imperialism. He advocates the nationalization of white-owned land in South Africa in a bid to address the legacy of colonialism and the racist system of apartheid. Now, this is not the first time that he has been denied entry to the UK. He has been denied a visa for the second time in just 2 months. The first time, the UK government said that his application was too late. Malema supporters see the British tactics as a bid to target him for his views that the West does not find comfortable. And moving on to some news from the West African nation of Nigeria, which has received 119 artifacts back from the Netherlands. Now, these antiquities include human and animal figures, plaques, royal emblems, and even a bell. These artifacts are known as the Benin bronzes, looted by the British soldiers in the 19th century when the Benin Kingdom was sacked and its monarch was forced into exile for 6 months. Now, Benin is located in modern-day southern Nigeria. The antiques had been given to the present monarch and custodian of Benin culture, the Oba Iweretu. Now, he described the return of the Benin bronzes as divine intervention, adding that it is the power of prayer and determination. The official handover ceremony of these Benin bronzes is scheduled for tomorrow. It will take place at the National Museum in Lagos, which will house 4 of the returned pieces. The remaining artifacts will be stored at the National Museum in Benin. Now, the World Museum of the Netherlands, working to return the artifacts and recover the items looted during colonial times, said that this marks the largest single repatriation to date.
This fits in exactly with our policy. We have a policy on basically, let's say, art that was stolen in the colonial eras. I think with the Benin bronzes, we know what happened to them. We know why they were taken out of Nigeria, when they were taken out of Nigeria. So when you do the analysis, when you do the study, and that has been done in the Netherlands also of this collection, the provenance of these objects, it was time for us to bring them back.
Most of these artifacts were housed in a museum in the Dutch city of Leiden. The Dutch government has said that the decision to return the bronzes was based on recognition of their looted origin. It admitted that they should never have left Nigeria.
Dutch policy says if it's very clear that objects are stolen, taken under distress, then obviously we will return them to the rightful owner.
The Netherlands has returned these artifacts at the request of Nigeria's National Commission for Museums and Monuments. Now, the African nation had formally requested the return of the hundreds of objects from the museums around the world in 2022. That same year, a London museum returned some 72 objects, and an American museum in Rhode Island repatriated 31 objects. The restoration is part of a growing global movement of returning cultural treasures taken during colonial times. Nigeria seeks to recover thousands of its intricate bronze sculptures. These bronzes are among Africa's greatest artistic achievements and have been the subject of decades-long repatriation campaigns. And our last story for today is from Liberia. This where the president's private plane journeys have landed him in hot water. Liberians are fuming over President Joseph Boakai's frequent use of private jets for both domestic and international travel. Now, the backlash comes amid deep economic challenges in the country and what many see as a stark contradiction to the president's own campaign promises. Now, President Boakai, however, has defended his actions, describing his use of private aircraft as a necessity, not a luxury. He said, and I quote, "I do not ride private jets just because I want to ride them, but there are occasions when it becomes necessary. I can assure you that we are not here to misuse resources for any purpose." Now, since taking office in January of 2024, Boakai has been using private jets for official engagements abroad and helicopters for travel to his hometown. But these high-cost flights have sparked growing public outrage. Liberians are accusing the government of not just an economic misstep, but also for political hypocrisy. The criticism is sharper because Boakai himself had repeatedly condemned his predecessor, George Weah, for similar behavior during the 2023 presidential campaign. Now, Weah's use of private jets was a major political flashpoint, one that ultimately contributed to his defeat in the November runoff. And now Liberians have said that Boakai's administration has taken a U-turn on that stance. And it's not just the president who is under fire. The vice president, Jeremiah Kuong, who is also spotted on a private jet just weeks after the new administration took office. Kwong had claimed that the jet was not government chartered, but rather offered by a Ghanaian businessman who was travelling to Accra. But the explanation did little to silence the critics who accused the Unity Party-led government of double standards. Now, the government has attempted to justify the practice, saying that private travel is sometimes necessary to avoid commercial flight delays and missing events. And official claims that some of the flights are funded by foreign governments or development partners, and not all are billed to the Liberian taxpayer. In a surprising twist, one Liberian senator apologized to the former president, saying that he had underestimated the complexity of presidential travel. Now, Liberia is hardly alone. Several African presidents have faced criticism for private plane travel, especially during times of national hardship. In Kenya, President William Ruto came under fire for chartering a luxury jet for a U.S. trip, despite publicly preaching austerity and cost-cutting. And in Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu has faced scrutiny for repeated private jet usage, even as his country grapples with soaring inflation and economic crisis. So while many leaders preach fiscal discipline, their private flight choices often tell a different story. For citizens struggling to make ends meet, these high-flying tactics are not just poor optics, they are a betrayal of trust. And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again at the same time on Monday. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend and goodbye.